Check, check. Well, hello, fastball fans. A little bit of bonus coverage here for you on the ISC network. By demand, by request, J&B and Circle Tap Dukes. We're into, double check it for you, make sure we get this right. We just finished the top of the second inning. We're going to head to the bottom here. J&B Bombers are out to a 1-0 lead. Top of the first inning, second batter, Lenny Vilvazo, hit a home run that nearly landed right into our broadcast tent here, by far the closest call we've had. Landed about 6 feet in front of us and then took a bit of a kick to my left. Fortunately, we don't need any balls here into the dugouts, or into our tent, rather. Coming up on the ISC Network tonight, it is Hill United Chiefs and the New York Gremlins, a matchup we've been waiting for since 2013. Haven't seen it in the ISC since then. That'll be a big one tonight. It's winter bracket semifinal action tonight. That'll be followed up in the nightcap by the Kitchener-Hallman Twins taking on the Fargo-Kegel Black Knights. Those two teams have met several times this season. The round-robin side, it's almost always been in the favor of the Twins, but when it comes to playoff bracket action, it's tended to favor Fargo, especially at the USA National a couple weekends ago. We'll see if that pattern holds here. Talked to a number of guys from both Fargo and Kitchener last night. They're looking forward to that matchup, and as are the Gremlins and the Hill United Chiefs. But this one here right now, Circle Tap went deep late last night with the RM Kurtz team, upstarts from Pennsylvania. Eric Chaparro, who was the ISC 2 top pitcher a couple of years ago in 2017. He was pitching for Kurtz and just spun a gem. Kurtz took advantage of a fielding error by the Dukes and plated a couple of runs in about the fifth. That game was tied 2-2 into the 10th inning. Manuel Godoy got a hold of one and knocked it out of the park, and that stood up in the bottom of the 10th. Immediately before this game, we're about 45 minutes behind or thereabouts. Immediately prior to this game, we had Oma Tigre taking on the AWP Lumberjacks. That game was 1-1 into the ninth. And AWP in the top of the ninth got a 2-run home run. And then followed that up with an RBI double. And they ended up taking that game 4-1. The home run by Carlos Carreno. And then Dan Allstat, a double to make it 4-1. Martin Gonzalez, the winner in that one for the AWP Lumberjacks. Here in this one, it's Sean Cleary. And there's a well-hit ball. And right to the fence. Davis leaps for it, but it's out of his range. And a home run for, looks like Blair Ezekiel. Yeah, Blair Ezekiel. A home run for Circle Tap. So we are tied here at 1. So that'll bring Peyton Hall to the plate. Thanks, guys, for the audio tips. Appreciate it. question all week has been, how healthy is Sean Cleary? Talked to Sean prior to the game as I ran into the J&B guys in the parking lot, and he said he was good to go. But observers, both here at the park and on video, have remarked that they don't think Sean is entirely 100%. I would tend to agree. So with this bonus coverage, if you've got comments, thoughts, constructive ones, certainly happy to hear from anybody and everybody. Yeah. Yeah, we're working on some different camera angles for the people who are asking. Remember, this is bonus coverage. Our scheduled programming tonight is 6 and 8. We were set up early. We thought we would turn on the stream. We're still calibrating the cameras and making sure that everything is set, but we are more than happy to be with you and more than happy that you're with us on the ISC network as we do bring you this bonus coverage. We'll be in and out with the audio, so I don't apologize for it, but just to let you know that we will be in and out with the audio over the course of this particular game. Last night we were talking with some folks here while that circle tap game was ongoing, and how many big home runs that Blair Ezekiel has hit in the ISC over the course of his careers. This one is fly ball out to right field and caught. Left field, rather. It's my right, your left. And you can add today to that particular list probably his career 1,032nd in bat against Sean Cleary. Although Blair spending the summer up in Wisconsin and Denmark, Wisconsin. Been up here since the end of May, so I'm told. So wouldn't have seen Sean back in that mighty St. John's League over the course of this summer. It is a very warm day here in Eldridge, Iowa. Probably, well, let's see what Google says right now, but it's around 31, 32 degrees Celsius. And this one is lifted out to right field and coming across and making, or left field again, coming across and making the catch. That was Chris Walushka, I think. Yusuf Davis is in center for J&B. So maybe a few fewer career at bats than I thought, because Blair and Sean are teammates I'm reminded in the St. John's League. That's a good point. Somebody wondering about the American flag on Blair's jersey on CT. My guess would be that that's actually somebody else's jersey because it's not his usual 21. I think it was 23. Wouldn't be the first time that Blair forgot to bring the right jersey to the park. Fully agree with some of the comments on the YouTube stream. It's indeed a great day for fastball. I didn't finish the weather story. It's about 30 degrees here in Iowa. We've had some cloud today, but not enough to ever cover the sun. It has been bright and intense all day long. We've seen a few fielding miscues. As balls go up, they get lost in the sun. We're told it's going to be even warmer tomorrow. Tomorrow is the ISC 2 championship game. We'll be on the air around 4 o'clock with that. Then we'll have the 6 and the 8 in the ISC bracket. Chopper on the ground. Good play by Momentum to flip that over. Tyler Momentum made a great play the other night against Fargo in that game. Hopefully you were watching that. And he's been impressive at second base for the Dukes here this week. That brings up Lenny Viavazzo. That's up and in. That's, I guess, what happens when you hit a home run in your previous at bat. The ISC 2 tournament in full flight today. The Reapers and Bear Bottom will meet in the winner's bracket game at 6 o'clock or thereabouts today. Bear Bottom beat the Ostrander Norsemen, while the Reapers took out Nate's Fisher. Ashland and Marchio brothers have been making their way through the losers bracket. Those two teams have already played 2 games today, and they'll have one more coming up at 4 o'clock. In fact, those games are going on probably right now. So it's been a long day for Ashland and for Marchio in particular. Marchio played at 10, played at 12, and again here at 4. Ashland had the first game off. They beat the Bar Buzz, who had earlier beat Walcott Merchants. The walk to Viavazzo brings up Blake Hunter. Jorge Segura misses down and in with that pitch. Hunter on a line, and that is caught by the left fielder Tyler Johnson. So I'll bring up Derek Mason. In that order, you might see that for Team Canada later this year, and certainly after next summer with the 2022 World Cup. That event being pushed back to November of 2022 now. The qualifier, the Pan Am qualifier, is scheduled for later this fall, but there was some scuttlebutt around the park here this week about a cancellation or a delay. Another shot out to left. Johnson dives for it and comes up with it. Great catch out there by Tyler Johnson as he got the glove right under the ball and then rolled over it. Takes away a hit from Derek Mason. Score remains 1-1. We'll head to the bottom of the third. Circle Tap, the home team, coming up. John Hickman joining us from Auckland, New Zealand. I see in the chat. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it'll be a Kiwi-filled game on the Gremlins side, without a doubt. This game's certainly international as well. You've got a Venezuelan catcher, a Canadian pitcher, Canadians at first and third. Villavazo on the Mexican national team, Chirinos from the Venezuelan side, Yusuf Davis, USA national team player. And then on the Dukes, you've got Blair Ezekiel, part-time Canadian now, is spending the summer in Denmark, Wisconsin. From Guatemala, the pitcher, Jorge Segura. You got a bunch of young Americans on that squad. Manuel Godoy from Argentina. And yeah, I know that camera's a little low, but like I said, we are working on adjusting them. Swing and a miss. Tyler Umentum is at the plate for Circle Tap right now. Tyler, one of those young Americans, and local Americans too, from Wisconsin, playing for Denmark. Some of the news around the park the last couple of days is we were off yesterday after Monday's 10-plus hour 4-game marathon that we put in. It was announced that the ISC World Tournament will be returning to Denmark to Circle Tap Bar and Grill in 2023. For those who have asked, we will be back in Quad Cities in 2022. Remember that when the 2020 World Tournament was canceled due to the COVID pandemic, we moved the 2020 event that was scheduled for Quad Cities out to 2022. And then they stepped in when it became readily apparent that we would not be able to make a go of it in Kitchener. That was a joint agreement, a joint move between the Kitchener Host Committee and the ISC. And a very prudent one, as it turned out. And on very short notice, we were able to come here to Eldridge in Iowa. So Quad Cities 2022 and Circle Tap in 2023. On the Hall of Fame side, we elected 3 new players to the ISC Hall of Fame. We'll be welcoming Darren Box from Spruce Grove, Alberta. Darren, an integral member of those Broken Bow teams in the early mid-2000s that played in, it seemed like, 6 or 7 ISC championship games in a row. The winners in 2000, 2001, and I think 2003, if memory serves me off the top of my head. Boxy was the MVP in 2001, of course, 4-time ISC All-World player. Joining Darren in the induction ceremony in 2022, Ryan Wolf and Gerald Muslar were previously announced, and they were also on that Broken Bow team. So Bow well represented, and they'll be joined by Reese Casely, who was a member of that team too. So 4 members from that Broken Bow squad in the early 2000s. And then Travis Wilson with the Gremlins, with Patsy's. He'll also join them in the ISC Hall of Fame. Travis Wilson, and I'll be honest, this one snuck up on me. Travis Wilson, one of the very few people, a select few people in the history of the ISC to have 5 or more first-team All-World selections. That is an impressive run for Travis Wilson. Of course, we know Travis's baseball pedigree, selected by the Atlantic Braves, and got as far as AAA before coming back to softball, played for the New Zealand Black Sox as a teenager, and then off to play some baseball, and then now a Hall of Fame career in softball too. So congratulations to those 3 players, along, of course, with Ryan Wolf, Gerald Muslar, and then somebody near and dear to me, Bob McGowan, who was our ISC2 VP, our ISC Canada East Regional VP. He was elected to receive the Bob Welby Memorial Recognition of Service Award, and I can't think of a more deserving person for that than Bob McGowan. The echoes of what Bob brought to the ISC in the late 90s and early 2000s are still in play today, and frankly, the ISC as an organization would not be the same without the contributions from Bob McGowan, and we will be welcoming Bob with open arms into the ISC Hall of Fame in 2022. That ceremony will be on the first Sunday in 2022 in August at the ISC World Tournament, and we'll look forward to that, welcoming those 6 members into the ISC Hall of Fame. So congratulations one and all on that. Tonight at 6 o'clock, again, or thereabouts, we'll have the annual ISC Special Olympics game. And we're going to try to bring you a little bit of coverage of that. We won't take away too much from either this game or the Hill United game with the Gremlins. However, Luciano has promised me that he'll get the drone up, and we will make sure that we give you a little peek at what is always one of the highlights here at the ISC World Tournament, the ISC Special Olympics game. Sean Cleary gets a strikeout looking to end the inning. Still tied at 1. We kind of thought this one might be a low-scoring affair. And so far, that's going to hold true. Hope you're enjoying this bonus coverage on the ISC network. My good friend Luciano. If you are on Facebook, you might have seen a shot of Luciano and I together here in our broadcast tent. We are located out in right field. And if you are a follower of the ISC on Facebook, you saw some posts today, and we want to acknowledge the people who helped, number one, just connect us with Luciano to get him here to the ISC World Tournament. It was at the Peligro Cup tournament in mid-July, and Luciano was covering that event, that the first contact was made with Juan Podolicio, Greg Leather, and that the seeds were sown about Luciano potentially coming here to Iowa. If we could make that work, we could potentially set up some streaming, because quite honestly, we had no streaming plans for Eldridge. I wasn't even coming up until about 6 weeks ago when the Canadian quarantine rules changed. Some more discussions were held at the Tin Cup tournament a couple of weeks later in St. Paul, Minnesota. Our longtime ISC commissioner, Les Novak, agreed to help out with sponsorship, and the Gremlins team, through Varm Matosian and Peligro Sports, agreed to match what the ISC would be willing to put in through Les Novak's contribution. And it was born that quickly. Luciano flew here from an event he was covering in New York City. He got here during the Hall of Fame breakfast on Sunday. We got set up for the couple of games on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, that we were able to bring to you. We had full intentions of bringing you the third game of the evening on Sunday, but there was a partial power outage, believe it or not. Here they blew a breaker, and that breaker impacted the power supply that we have out here in right field. So we got taken off the air by that. These are the perils of working live. But here we are. We're back. We did the 4 games on Monday. We hope you're enjoying the bonus coverage here. And then stay tuned with us through the evening here in Iowa, as it will cool down to a much more comfortable 20 degrees or so by the time it gets dark. But the sun will still have to set in the west, and that's going to be right in the eyes of the right fielder and shining brightly right into our tent here. So we're constantly shuffling things around, trying to keep the computer equipment in the shade to keep it from overheating. Rafa Flores is at the plate for Circle Tap. Just the one hit allowed by each pitcher. Lenny Viavazzo, a home run in the top of the first, and then Blair Ezekiel answered that in the bottom of the second. That accounts for all the scoring. There actually hasn't been a lot of home runs hit here at the ISC World Tournament this year. The fences are no different. They're 250. Don't know why. Can't account for it. Maybe, and this was a theory, this one is well hit to deep left. That could be another one, and it is. Rafa Flores puts J&B back out in front, 2-1. So as we talk about home runs, we get another one, a valiant attempt by left fielder Tyler Johnson, as he did the Superman right over the 3.5, 4 foot high temporary fencing that we've got, but couldn't come back with that one. But one of the theories around the home runs was that the top 8 teams were playing each other much more quickly than they would be in a normal World Tournament. I mean, we are playing the winners bracket semifinal games tonight. Normally those would be tomorrow night, and that's after a day off too. So we're advancing through this tournament much quicker. Only 22 teams here at the ISC World Tournament this week. 10 of them drop down into ISC 2. And we are actually right now down to 7 of the final Elite 8. Omatigre on the short end of 4-1 9-inning decision immediately prior to this game. AWP staying alive in the bracket. They're on the top side of the bracket. The bottom side of the bracket has Circle Tap and J&B, and then the loser of Hill United and the Gremlins will drop down, and I believe the way it works is they'll get the winner of this game. So it's no easy games from here on in for anybody in the ISC side of the bracket. Yadier Chirinos chases one into the dirt for a strikeout. Good pitch there from Jorge Segura. So November 22nd in Auckland for the WBSC World Cup, or November 22 at least. Thanks to John Hickman for that. So Chirina down on strikes. That brings up Mark Aranda. Mark, one of the local California players on this J&B team. Full of international stars, but Mark fits right in with this group. Big cut there. There was a breeze at one point which was blowing right to left. It was blowing in from left field. That seems to have mostly abated right now. As I say that, the flag just flutters a little bit to life, but certainly not much. A lot of water, Gatorade, and other beverages being consumed at the park. Yesterday was $3 Tuesday. The Wisconsin guys took full advantage of that. They weren't the only ones. So Aranda gets a board, and then we're going to get a pinch runner with Chris Walushka at the plate. We'll see who they've put into run for Aranda. Looks like it's Gabriel 3. We were having some difficulty with the handwriting on the lineup card the other night. We couldn't make out the last name for any luck. He is number 3, and as luck would have it, apparently, it is Gabriel 3. Called strike on Walushka. I was talking to Chris just right before the game, and he asked if we were going to cover the game on streaming. And I said, yeah, we were. We were going to have some bonus coverage. And he's like, can you make sure you tell everybody? So spread the word if you're joining us. This one is laced by Walushka out into the gap. Coming over to pick it off is Ratliff. First to third. Coast to coast. Goes Gabriel 3. Good bit of hitting there by Chris Walushka. That'll bring up Yusuf Davis. You know, we talked about this complex here, the Sheridan Meadows Park, just on the outskirts of Eldridge, Iowa. And as I turn and I look behind me at what is Diamond 3. It's a 3-diamond complex. The middle diamond, which is what we're on, is the main diamond, and then there's a diamond behind which we've called Diamond 1, and then as I turn and look, Diamond 3, there are rows and rows of corn. They all look to be about 7 or 8 feet high. If you can imagine that scene from the opening of the Major League ball game that was at the Field of Dreams in Iowa last Thursday, where the players followed Kevin Costner out of the corn. Just a terrific moment. But honestly, we could do that here too. It is just something spectacular to see. Just the rows upon rows of rolling corn. Bob Berger having a long conversation with Gabriel 3 over on third base. I'm not sure what needed that much direction. Walushka has got plenty of wheels over at first. I know Bob likes to run. He is unconventional in the way that he wants to manage and try and force the opposition into mistakes. Big cut there by Yusuf Davis. That was a much better swing, though, from Yusuf. I felt that in the game the other day against Hallman Twins, he was chopping at the ball. He had the bunt out and then back and everything, just trying to do too much. And here, just a good old-fashioned swing, and sometimes that's all you need to do is just try and make contact. Just trying to do too much the other night. Well, there goes Walushka up to third. Just hearing in our chat group that the picture is freezing periodically. We're trying to keep all of the electronics as much as possible here at our desk shaded or otherwise blocked from the sun, but I'm afraid that occasionally we're going to run into maybe a bit of stuttering as things approach overheat level. That was a hard one hopper into the glove of Manuel Godoy, but it was called foul. Upstairs to Davis, they're going to ask, but no, he didn't go around on that. For those who's asking, yeah, the Gremlins Chiefs game will be up at the conclusion of this one. We are probably about 45 minutes behind. The 2 o'clock game went 9 innings and wrapped up at around 4:30-ish. This game got underway 4:47, I think it was. So that's about how many minutes late we are. This game is not progressing at a quick pace. And with these two pitchers, you certainly wouldn't expect it to be. But we are looking forward to that Gremlins Chiefs game. As I said, it's a rematch of the 2013 ISC Championship game. The last time they would have played, if memory serves, was... No, it wouldn't have been 2017 either. The Gremlins did not play the Chiefs in 2017. It would have been 2016. They played in the losers bracket final, and that game went extra innings because our Toronto Gators were waiting for the winner of that game. So I think that's the last time that they played was 2016. But that 2013 game, of course, very memorable. Adam Folker being perfect through 7 1/3 innings after he had thrown a perfect game at the Gremlins in the winners bracket final. Adam setting the record for the most consecutive perfect innings back in 2013. And that game, of course, also memorable for the only run, the play at the plate, sacrifice fly by Jeff Ellsworth to score Jamie Shields. Hill United winning the first of what would be 4 out of 5 ISC World Championships. Down on strikes to end the inning. J&B, that 2-1 lead will head to the bottom half of the 4th. So it'll be Matt Ratliff coming to the plate for Circle Tap. We talked about earlier about Sean Cleary and his health, of course, straining the calf at the USA National Championship in Oklahoma City, pitching in the extreme heat in Oklahoma last weekend for the New York Gremlins. And I was talking to Greg Leather last night. I'm like, why did you really need to pick up Sean with your pitching staff? And he said, Sean and many of the other Canadian players, and this was confirmed by a couple guys I've been talking to around the park this week, they all wanted to see and play at that stadium as Ratliff first pitch swinging down into the corner, and Wolushka's got to go get that in the corner, so a double for Matt Ratliff to lead things off for the Dukes here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Everybody wants to see him play at that special stadium in Oklahoma City, the so-called self-proclaimed softball capital of the world, and the stadium is quite the complex, so I'm told. I haven't been there, but I'm told it is something to see, and maybe one day we'll be fortunate enough to make a trip there for an event. So the ever-dangerous Manuel Godoy at the plate had the game winner last night for the Dukes. Cleared the 250 fence and hit right on the top with the yellow piping of the permanent fence, which is about another 20 feet back, 25 feet back from the 250 mark. Sometimes wonder if maybe we should just go with the 275-foot fences. It would take away the fence scrapers for home runs and maybe turn those into doubles and triples, and would that be a little bit more exciting? But as somebody said to me, I've never seen anybody not get excited about a home run. But don't worry, we won't ever be bringing the fences in any closer. Good spot by clearing the outside corner. Manuel Godoy points to the far side of the plate and says it wasn't there. Still gesturing. Now the breeze picks up again, and it's almost blowing directly out to right. Given how Manuel hits the ball, I'm going to take a journey out in front of our tent, and not that I'm going to catch it if it comes this way, but maybe I'll block it. Not with that swing, Manuel. It's really hot here in the bleachers in Iowa. There are a number of shade trees that surround the diamonds, and the players and the fans are greatly appreciative of those shade trees, as well as the tents that have been set up by the host committee with the picnic tables underneath them. They have been quite full over the course of the week. The lawn chairs on the lawn. Here's a two-hopper out to Villavazo at second, and he'll throw out Manuel Godoy. Ratliff up to third on the play. And that'll bring up Blair Ezekiel, the man of the hour for the Circle Tap Dukes. Ezekiel's been doing all of the catching for Circle Tap here this week. They're missing a number of key players. Their number 2 pitcher, Bryce DeCove, has had to go down to Florida. He's been given a scholarship to be the pitching coach or practice pitching coach for one of the universities down there, and he was called in this week, so not here at the World Tournament. And their catcher has apparently works nights and is unable to make a number of the games, so he is not here for most of these games as well. So they're shorthanded, and Blair Ezekiel actually doing much of the catching for Circle Tap. So I want to say hello to some of the Toronto D-Up Ridge guys from the Niagara contingent who just arrived in town. Ray Carr, Robbie Graytrix, Danny Demo wanted to drop by and say hello. They are going to get underway tomorrow in the Legends 50-plus division. And it is always good to see the fellows from that particular age group get together. The competitive fires are still there. The wheels are a little slower than they used to be, but the laughs and the camaraderie that develops over the years is still as strong as ever. So pinch runner in for Blair Ezekiel, who looked like he may have worked a walk while we were making our sojourn elsewhere. And Peyton Hall at the plate for Circle Tap. And no slight to Peyton Hall, but he's not Blair Ezekiel, and discretion being the better part of valor here for Sean Cleary and J&B. That's a decision I would make just about every time, but then you got to go after him. You can't nibble away off the plate either. So it's Derek Umentum in running for Blair Ezekiel, and that's a pretty good trade for circle tap on the base pass. But swing and a miss. Real good rise ball there from Sean Cleary. 2 down in the inning. Yeah. Great center fielder shot there from our good friend Luciano. La Liga Premier Softball TV. Make sure you take a look at the ISC Facebook page. Scroll down a couple of pages or a couple of posts from earlier this morning, and you'll see some of Luciano's handiwork. Great to be working with him here this week, and we hope this is just the beginning of a wonderful partnership between the ISC and Softball Premier TV. Fist bumps indeed. Gentry Mitchell steps in for circle tap. Big cut there. Hard to catch up with that rise ball from Sean Cleary. It's coming up the entire way. And when we talk about rise balls, let's dispel a bit of a notion here that the ball is somehow levitating. It's not, but it's being thrown on an upward trajectory with a 6 to 12 spin that helps it continue on that upward trajectory throughout the entire strike zone. And there's a drop from Cleary on the inside corner. But that rise ball is always on that upward trajectory the entire time. The spin helps to keep it on that trajectory. And if you get sideways spin, as my good friend Lori Cook-Baird will tell you, the ball is not going to continue on that trajectory, and those are the ones usually that end up getting hit over the fence. This one clips Gentry on the inside arm, so Cleary's going to have to contend with a bases-loaded situation. He had Gentry 0-2, and then or 1-2 at least, and then hits him. So, a bit of a self-inflicted error here by Sean Cleary and J&B. We'll bring up Brogan Potter. Potter had a big double off the base of the fence off of Fargo the other night. That game went extra innings before the Knights prevailed. Yeah, Joe Todd, you're right. Ricky from New York is here with his fast pitch license plate. Had a quick chat with him the other day. He's doing well. Tim Maz. Oh, right into the glove of Cleary. Good defense. Sean is one of the best fielders of his position. He runs this most of the way to first, the underhand toss, and gets out of that bases-loaded jam. J&B escape with their 2-1 lead intact. We'll go to the top of the fifth. Talked with Bob Berger in the game controller's tent prior to this game, about an hour before the game, and he dropped by for the lineup cards and the coin toss and all the pregame rituals that that managers have to do. And he talked about the irony of this game. Last World Tournament, I almost said last year again, but last World Tournament in Denmark in 2019, J&B and the Circle Top Dukes played in a similar losers bracket type of situation where the winner moves on and the loser goes home. And at that time, Agoura was the pitcher for J&B. And they would lose, J&B would lose that game to the Dukes, and J&B eliminated. The Dukes would have had Daniel Chapman and Roman Godoy as their pitchers last year. Also, the young Aussie kid, whose name escapes me at the moment as I have a seniors moment, but it'll come back. Somebody will remind me. Leighton Reed, as it pops into my mind. Justin Schofield is up throwing for J&B. He pitched the first night, got the win, all 7 innings for J&B, as they had a good game with the Rio Grande Senators. They won that one 4-1 ultimately. Schofield at one point only given up 1 or 2 hits in that game. I think they got a run in the 6th, if I remember correctly. Schof then came on in relief in the Hallman Twins game. Ultimately got saddled with the loss in that one as it went extras. Pitched 4 innings in that game as Cleary went the first 4. Had a foul ball come in from the diamond behind us. That was the noise and why everybody just suddenly stopped. But Cleary went the whole game yesterday against the Bear Creek Express and came back fine. The losers bracket, not quite as onerous an ordeal as it's been in the normal World Tournament scenario where you would have to play 2 on Friday. If you go to losers bracket early, you'd have to play 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday to win the tournament. Viavazo with a bit of a casual bat flip after a walk. This week, the losers bracket semi is on Friday night, immediately prior to the winners bracket final. And then the losers bracket final is one of only 2 ISC games on Saturday. So it'll be the losers bracket final on or about 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, Central Time. And then you can set your clocks for 7 p.m. Central Time for the ISC Championship game, 2021 edition. Assuming we're all on time and the weather and everything else cooperates. I'm talking to one of the local guys here who'll be helping out on scorekeeping and whatnot here this week, and he said they've had rain this summer, but not in the last couple of weeks, other than just a slight downpour here and there, and it never lasts very long. He said they could use the rain as the ground is getting very hard, very dry. I said, well, how about we wait till Sunday? And he agreed with that. Although if the rain just stays on this side of the Mississippi and doesn't make its way over to the Chicago airport, I'll be thrilled. Good play there by Tyler Momentum, who, as I mentioned earlier, has really made some good plays at second base here this week, going well behind his position. Agoura had an arm around the umpire, and I'm not sure whether he got caught up in that scramble of players towards the ball or what, but Agoura had a bit of a laugh. If you've ever flown through Chicago, you know how notorious the weather can be and how frequently the flights get changed or canceled through O'Hare, so fingers crossed for the flight home Sunday morning. So Hunter at the plate with one out. And as quickly as we mentioned Blake Hunter, down he goes. And we'll bring in Derek Mason. Oh boy, that is so blinding. So just looking right into the sun as it continues just to set a little bit here. It's got a long way to go before it gets behind the trees, but it is just about into eye level. I can tell you, not that I played much outfield, but the right fielders right now will be battling this sun on anything hit into their direction. Just looking through the comments here. Oma did not win today. They came up on the short side of a 4-1 9-inning affair. That was with the AWP Lumberjacks. Carlos Carreno hit a 2-run home run in the top of the ninth. Daniel Allstat had an RBI double, and that was the difference for the Lumberjacks in that game. Martin Gonzalez with the win. Sammy Villavazo took the loss for the Oma Tigre. We certainly hope to see that team stay in the mix. Real nice blend of players and a very competitive ISC World Tournament for the Tigre. Bit of a tough draw running into the Gremlins in the winner's bracket. That game with AWP was tied at 1 through 8 complete. So it looks like we're about an hour and 23 minutes into this one. Hope you're enjoying this bonus coverage here on the ISC Network. I'm Blair Setford, your tour guide, as I've mentioned here this week, flying solo. Fouled off at the plate. Kyle Smith, Joe Todd, Lance Wynn, Chris Abbott. All the regular cast of characters that we've had over the years. Jim Flanagan. Everybody has been in touch this week. It's been great to hear from everybody. Miss all of you guys. Particularly yesterday, when there were a bunch of good ball games that we all collectively could have brought to the viewing audience around the world. And it wasn't for not wanting to do it, but given the number of games that we want to bring you over the rest of the week, felt that in conjunction with the ISC meetings that I had yesterday, that the wisest thing to do was just to take the full day off and make sure that we're able to bring you all the games the rest of the way. So meeting on the mound with Mason aboard. Flores homered in his last trip. They've got to be careful. Can take the ball out of the yard at any time. And Rafa Flores is one of those guys, too, where no matter where you are in the ballpark, you want to stop doing what you're doing and watch his at-bats. He is demonstrative. He is vocal. He is dramatic, perhaps overly so. But he's fun, and he's a treat to watch. So as I mentioned, Segura has done all of the throwing, but there is a young left-hander warming up in the bullpen for Circle Tap. And I'm not sure off the top of my head who that is. See if we can find out. That is over the head of the shortstop, and Mason decides to stop at second. Probably a good idea. Tyler Johnson was on that in a pretty quick hurry. So that is Bryce Tecovey over there warming up. He must have come back from Florida because he was not here earlier in the week for the Dukes. So a timely arrival, the young left-hander for Circle Tap. I don't know if he's coming in anytime soon, but and a pinch runner for J&B as Mason heads off the field. And we'll tell you who that is in a moment when it comes up on Game Changer. The Chirinos at the plate. He steps out. Crowell is in to run for Derek Mason. Oh. Now Bob Berger. Or somebody, at least the first base coach, pointing something out. Not sure what that one was about, but they check on Chirinos and they say he did swing. Certainly looked like it from our vantage point, 268.5 feet away. Chirinos among the best shortstops in the game. A wizard defensively. The bat hasn't always been at the same level as the glove. fouls that one off. His infield, middle infield compadre, Rogelio Sequeira, was on the diamond the other night and just made some spectacular plays. Long run, and that's going to go off a tent that is right up against the fence in behind first base. Colby Crowell, thanks Jim Flanagan for picking me up on that. And yes, Joe Todd, that is Yadier Chirinos from the Venezuelan squad. Swing and a miss. Down goes Chirinos. Opportunity squandered by J&B as they can't extend their 2-1 lead. So this remains a tight one. We'll go to the bottom of the fifth. Sean Cleary will try to keep the Dukes in check. Not sure what the over-under was for runs for this game for the Dukes, but my guess would have been that about 1.5 might have been the line, as the Dukes have played great fundamental ball here for the most part all week, but they have been runs challenged. And that's certainly on display last night in the Kurtz game, a real well-pitched game by Eric Chaparro, taking a top 10 team to 10 innings before his RM Kurtz team ultimately went down 3-2 in that one. Would be a cool bet to see what that line might have been on the over-under for the Dukes. Chris Abbott notes that he's not the Chirinos from Newfoundland. No, he is definitely not. And do want to say hi to all the boys back in Ontario, along with Jim Flanagan, who has joined us as well. With J&B from Jim's part of the world in Southern California. So Tyler Umentum at the plate here in the bottom of the fifth for the Dukes as they get down into their order. If you're a Dukes fan, you'd certainly like to see one of these youngsters come up with a big base hit and set the table for the guys at the top of the order. A tall order, however, against one of the world's best in Sean Cleary. Coming up on the ISC Network, following this one, top-rated New York Gremlins, the two-time defending champions, and the Hill United Chiefs. It's a game we've been waiting for a while here in the ISC World Tournament. And that'll be followed up by the Kitchener-Hallman Twins and the Fargo-Kegel Black Knights. We'll see them under full dark sky and the full light effect here at the Sheridan Meadows Complex. But in the meantime, we'll continue our bonus coverage Thanks to Luciano, who got us all set on the air. Luciano, something in Spanish for our listeners.
Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Bueno, gracias Blake por ese pequeño espacio que me está dando aquí en este canal de ISC Network, que de verdad estamos pasando espectacular. Un buen softball para la gente que sabe en español, que está ahí conectada. Gracias por estar con nosotros y compartir este softball espectacular, el mejor del mundo, está aquí en Iowa, Enbridge. Gracias a Blair por este pequeñito espacio que me está dando y los invitamos que después de este juego vamos a salir con todo, en español y en inglés, ¿verdad? Un juegazo que vamos a tener en vivo, que es los Chiefs versus el equipo de Chiefs y el equipo de los Gremlins, New York Gremlins. Así que los invitamos a todos que se conecten y estén pendientes ahí. Estamos haciendo los testers para salir con todas las cámaras y todas las vistas que a usted le gusta, un dron en vivo para que viva una experiencia espectacular. Por aquí, por este canal ISC Fastball y en la Softball Premier TV en YouTube en español. Muchas gracias a los que se conectaron, que están conectados aquí. Sigan viendo el juego y nos vemos en un ratito. Thank you, Blair.
So for those who don't speak Spanish, what did you just say really quickly? La Liga Premier Softball in Spanish for your coverage, and stay on the ISC network for the English coverage. Gracias, amigo. Schofield will come on and make his third appearance in the World Tournament here this year and hit the mascot in warm-ups. So some strategic coaching after the walk to momentum. Berger feeling that was enough for Cleary. So Sean will go 5+. Momentum will be his. He'd be in line for the win. He wouldn't necessarily be able to take the loss or he'd get a no decision, let's put it that way, should a momentum come around. Reinhardt at the dish. Schofield, good hard drop ball. Outstanding change. The rise ball, it's best when he gets it elevated and up is out of the zone to try and get batters to chase. Nobody works as hard, I feel, as Schofield in the game right now. Puts in hours upon hours in the gym, training. Throws a couple of nights a week in his league in Nova Scotia. And the work ethic that this guy has got is just super impressive. Also one of the funniest guys around too. And if you haven't listened to his appearances on the Outside the Shoot podcast, the excellent podcast from Atlantic Canada by Randy Frame and Chris Hopewell, do treat yourself to the episodes with Justin Schofield. They are a laugh, and Randy and Chris do a great job every week bringing you a new episode with a ball player around the world, male and female in the game. Flores, who loves to throw the ball and picks runners off just about every game, almost got the pinch runner there. Or sorry, not the pinch runner, but almost got Tyler Momentum. Sure, Dean Kane, who's coaching first, will be in Tyler's ear. Do not get picked off. Swing and a miss there by Reinhardt, and just overmatched by that good hard drop ball from Justin Schofield right there. Schof throws in the high 70s, low 80s. I know he would prefer it to be about 10 degrees cooler right now. Blue nosers like Schof, it gets over 30, they start to melt a little. And that pitch right off the back shoulder of Tyler Johnson. That'll leave a mark. I see behind us we've got an ambulance come down to the field 3 area. I hope everybody's okay. It's never a good sign. So Johnson, who's the leadoff batter in the Duke's order, and that one gets away from Flores. I don't know whether he got crossed up there. He made a bit of a wild stab at it and just kind of knocked it down. So you moved 2 runners up 60 feet. Not Ratliff now at the plate, but momentum up to third, and Johnson scampers up to second. Derek Mason is almost playing second base as this infield for Ratliff is shifted way over. He's got 20 feet of room between Mason and the bag. They're not expecting him to pull Schofield at all. They're all shaded over towards the left side of the infield. This one almost crosses them up as it's a little bleeder along the line, but it's foul. Ratliff could drop down a bunt and almost score 2 if he was able to get something that would die on the line 12 feet up the line. Mason would have to go 30 feet to go get it. Schofield misses just outside with that pitch. One down in the inning. You're going to have to likely contend with Manuel Godoy unless you somehow get a double play out of all of this. Down in the dirt, good job by Flores to keep that in front of him. So a bit of a jam J&B worked themselves into with a walk and then a hit batter and then I'm going to go a pass ball, but kind of looked like maybe Flores and Schofield crossed each other up. And a chopper, and that indeed was down the line. Mason, had he been on the line, would have fielded that easy. And Ratliff aboard with a double and crosses up the defense, and exactly what we talked about happens, and circle tap with a 3-2 lead. I guess that was the scouting report on Matt Ratliff that he wasn't going to hit the ball down first base, but that ball had eyes. It hopped right over the bag. And a tough break there for Schofield and J&B as the defense in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ratliff, the 2 RBI double, and now Godoy, first pitch swinging. And this inning is out of the frying pan and into the fire for Schofield and J&B right now. to talk to some of the J&B guys after the game and ask about the defense. Clearly, that was their read on Matt Ratliff, that he wasn't going to hit the ball down first, but to take yourself that far out of position, especially with two runners aboard like that, just, to me anyway, seems strange. Yep. Well, great shot from our center field camera. Hard hit ball, and that is going to be misplayed by Yusuf Davis, and up to second goes Manuel Godoy. Around comes Matt Ratliff, and it is 4-2 for Circle Tap Dukes. I think it was quite likely that he was going to score anyway, but bobbled by Davis and making it academic. Something's gone wrong here for Circle Tap as Scott Standerfer has come charging out of the dugout and is face-to-face with the umpire. Did they say that he missed third somehow, and did they call him out? And Standerfer has been tossed one of the very few times in his career that he has been run from a game right there, and I have never seen Scott Standerfer this upset. I'm wondering if they said that he missed third base going around, and are they taking that run off of the board? That's about the only thing I could think of that would make Scott Standerfer so upset. Hasn't left the park yet. He's waiting for more. Our home plate umpire is now going to turn around and have to confront Standerfer, and now he's getting the running clock. There's still a 4 up on the scoreboard. Godoy has come in and is chatting with Schofield. There is a lot of chatter from the Circle Tap fans who have filled up the bleachers behind the plate. I'm sure he's hearing it from them. So 2 out. There's still a 4 on the scoreboard, but so he didn't touch third base, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Pablo Migliavaca just confirming what we thought, that he missed third base, so that run is not going to count. So 3-2 still. Thanks, Pablo, for the confirmation on that. Well, when you think you've seen it all, you find out you haven't. Let's take that run off the scoreboard. And it's only 3-2 for the Dukes. And suddenly the situation doesn't look quite so grim. This one up and in to Blair Ezekiel. Ezekiel had that home run for Circle Tap way back in the second inning. That got them on the board. And right to Chirinos. He will turn and flip to first as Blair Ezekiel will trot down, touch the bag, and will head back to the Circle Tap dugout. The momentum that they had really comes off their shoulders. So hang on, we're just going to get a further word from Pablo, and run does score. Oh, so they threw out Godoy at second for being off the bag when Schofield was in the circle. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for. So it is 4-2. All right. So we will put that run back on the board. Okay. Thanks, Pablo. Appreciate that. It wasn't what we thought it was. It was something even less obvious. Crazy. All right. Thank you. So 4-2, and for J and B, they probably would have preferred the other scenario. For Dukes fans, you got to be happy that that run stays on the board. And they rarely called off the base while the pitcher is in the circle. Been a long time since I've seen that one called. So we'll go to the top of the sixth. Circle top Dukes out in front, 4-2. And I just heard Matt Ratliff give an abbreviated version that Schofield was in the circle and Manuel Godoy took a step off the bag and towards third, and that was why they called him out. So Mark Aranda at the plate for J and B. And drilled foul. Hopefully everybody down the right field line was able to get out of the way of that missile. You come to enough World Tournaments, you see just about everything. No, we didn't see any bats thrown onto the field, fortunately. Tanner Umentum, my bad, I'm sorry. Thanks, Diana, and I apologize. Chop foul. And no, that wasn't Dean's handwriting. That was Blair's faulty memory. So apologies to Tanner for calling him Taylor for half the game. We actually didn't get the lineup cards for this one. We've been working off the feed that comes in through Game Changer. We get an initial and then the last name. Agoura, for me at least, really came to prominence back in, let's say, 2014 at the Pan Am qualifier that was down in Paraná at the in Argentina at that stadium we have all marveled at. And he pitches obviously for Guatemala. And our home plate umpire, who already had some troubles with the Dukes in the previous half inning, is now warning everybody that he will be the one calling the balls and strikes and not the players on the field. Anyway, back to Jorge Agoura. Pitched a brilliant game against Canada, went extra innings, was a hard luck loser. I don't quite remember the score, 2-1, 3-2, something, a real low scoring game. And talked to the Canadian guys when they got back from that trip, and It is a great drop ball, threw hard, and made his appearance on the ISC circuit not long after. And he's been a mainstay since then. Real good guy. He's actually a lawyer back in Guatemala. And this is downstairs. So Marco Ronda works another walk. Chris Walushka will come to the plate. Now, they've run for Aranda already, so they can't put another sub in for him. Otherwise, that sub would have to stay in the game because Aranda has already re-entered the game. You can only re-enter the starters in ISC Fastball. And I know somebody mentioned in the chat on YouTube, Fastball, Fastpitch. Where I grew up in Ontario, it was and is Fastball. But I guess it's been Fastpitch elsewhere in Canada and certainly around the world, and I use them mostly interchangeably. Walushka from beautiful British Columbia in Western Canada. Member of the Canadian national team the last few years. Sepulveda is up warming again for the Dukes, but I don't see him entering this game anytime soon. I think that this game will be Jorge Segura's one way or the other. Walushka, as everybody can in the ice, he can hit the ball out of the park, but he's much more of a gap-to-gap hitter. This one is fouled off down the first base side. His game is to hit it into the gap and go for a run around the bases. Crowd here continuing to slowly fill up the Sheridan Meadows complex. We've got the Special Olympics game coming up behind us in the not too distant future. Blair Ezekiel, who's catching, on a bluff to throw down to first. Blair's done a great job back there this week, but not quite the same arm as Rafa Flores. Walushka to the shortstop, to flip to 2 for 1, back to first, safe at first base. Hard to double up Chris Walushka with the wheels that he's got. So one down. That'll bring up Yusuf Davis to the plate. Yusuf, another guy who was a great guest on Outside the Chute earlier this year. And there's a number of great podcasts. Talked about them earlier in the week, and I'll mention them again. If you haven't been tuning in to all of the great Fastball, Fastpitch podcasts, make sure you do. It is a great way to spend an hour or an hour and a half, whether it's driving somewhere, whether you're out walking the dog, taking a walk around the lake or something like that during these COVID times. And Outside the Chute in Atlantic Canada, I talked about with Randy Frayne, Chris Hopewell. Two's Talk with Donnie Atkinson, Dean Holine, and Keith McIntosh, a couple of Hall of Famers there. Donnie Atkinson does a great job, to be fair, reining those guys in. There is Beyond the Dugout with Jason Chopper Gerbies and his good pal Damien, and got to meet Damien virtually the other night on a Zoom call a couple of weeks back as we did a preview. Kyle Smith and I did a preview for the World Tournament and had a great time talking to Chopper and Damien. And this one is through the hole. Walushka will take a look, Going to turn on the afterburners and go to 3. Here's the throw. Davis with the head first slide into second, and that fires up the J&B bench. So the 8 and 9 batters do the job for J&B. They set the table for the top of the shop. And that's exactly what you need from the bottom of your order when you're down 2 and you need to get back into the game in the late innings. And then the most recent podcast to make its appearance was Hilly and Lawley, better known as Jason Hill and Steve Mullally from Hill United Chiefs. You're going to see them coming up with their familiar blue pinstripe uniforms, or jersey tops at least. And those ones are a little bit more broadcaster friendly with contrasting numbers, unlike the white on white that they had on the other night. But Hilly and Lawley getting some great guests and telling some great stories and bringing you, the listener, into the beer tent and getting the opportunity to listen in, to be a fly on the wall in some great conversations with some great guests. This one is laced out to left field. It's a fair ball. We've got a tied ball game as around second and into third. Stand-up triple. We got ourselves a tie ball game. Cesar Rodriguez with the stand-up triple. And these J&B guys just aren't going to go away. And now you've got to contend with Lenny Viavazo, who was all-world the last world tournament that we had. And we're back to square. This is the kind of ball game that you really enjoy getting to call, getting to watch, back and forth, good pitching, good hitters. The runs have been earned. We've seen some home runs. We had some controversy. We had a coach thrown out. Unfortunately, it was our good friend Scott Standifer. But all in all, a real thorough, entertaining ball game. Glad we made the decision to bring it to you. And glad you've been joining us here on the ISC Network. And this one is laced out to right in front of us. And here's the throw in, and he scores. So J&B take the lead. Rodriguez comes around on the sacrifice fly by Lenny Viavazo, and exactly what J&B needed in that situation. So a 4-2 deficit erased, and J&B out in front 5-4. This pitch inside to Blake Hunter, who really is still just trying to get untracked here at the World Tournament. Don't know how much ball Blake is getting to play out in the BC area. I think that their leagues are going. I know it was quite the odyssey for Blake and Chris Walushka and Derek Mason to get here from Vancouver. Somehow ended up in Montreal on their way to Chicago. Pitch misses downstairs, and now Sean Cleary is going to come out down the right field line and do some work. So Sean Cleary maybe coming back into this game, trying to pick up the save in this situation. Inside to Hunter. In this situation here, if Cleary does come back in, somewhat reminiscent for those who may have watched the gold medal women's softball match in the Olympics, where the Japanese team took out their ace Ueno in the final against the U.S. for the 6th inning against the bottom of the U.S. lineup and rested her. They brought in the lefty against 2 lefty American batters, and she got all 3 outs in that inning. And then brought Ueno back in for the final inning, just gave her a bit of rest. And perhaps, I think somewhat unintentionally, but perhaps that might be the way that this plays out for J&B. Here's a ground ball. Can he get the glove? Couldn't get the ball out of the glove there. Shortstop for Circle Tap Dukes. Made a good play to come get that ball, Reinhardt, but just couldn't get the ball out of the glove for the throw. Took that extra step, and I don't know that he was going to get Blake Hunter in any event. Blake runs well. With that gold medal game for Canadian viewers called by our good friend Lance Wynn, his partner Allison Bradley did a great job throughout the Olympics. And if you were fortunate enough to catch the Canadian feed, you got some of the best coverage, probably the best coverage of softball in what was available. No Scroogies were called on the Canadian coverage. Mason looks at a strike right down Iowa Street here in Eldridge. Boy, how things can change real quickly. And that one gets past Blair Ezekiel, who's got to push the home plate umpire out of the way to go get the ball. And Blake Hunter will move up to 60 feet to second base. How quickly things have changed. The body language here with Circle Tap Dukes, full of momentum just half an inning ago. There's a lot of staring at the shoe tops right now for the team in black and green. Cleary continues to throw down the bullpen line for J&B. More than soft toss, but certainly not game speed, but it won't take Sean long to get warm if he is indeed coming back in. Long time in between pitches here for Segura. And Mason, well hit, deep right. This one is not coming back. Off the fence. A home run, 2-run home run for Derek Mason. Broadcaster will have to come over here and pick this one up. Fortunately, we're mobile. And one hops Matt Ratliff on the throw back into the field. Throwing was never my strong point. But that, I think, is going to be it for Jorge Segura. And what was a 2-run deficit is now a 3-run lead for the J&B squad from Agoura Hills in California. Derek Mason, an absolute no-doubter, 275 feet to the base of the permanent fence. And fortunately, it was 25 feet over, not into the base of the broadcast tent. So I said I doubted Bryce DeColve was going to get into this game at the time, but certainly that is it for Jorge Segura. And perhaps just running out of gas, as he has logged all of the innings for Circle Tap Dukes, and they have been hard innings for Segura and Circle Tap. They played Kurtz, RM Kurtz, in their opening game on Saturday night, and that game, Dukes were up 6-0, 6-1 in that game, but it got close and ended up being 6-4, I think was the final in that one, and they had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 7th in that game. They had the tough one with Fargo Kegel, which went extra innings. And then that 10-inning game last night, again with Kurtz, as Kurtz come through the back door and work their way back through the loser's bracket. And boy, you thought that that one was going to be a long time ending into the 10th inning before Manuel Godoy was able to give Circle Tap that one run for the win. But Tecove, a young left-hander, a local guy who has benefited significantly from a lot of the developmental clinic work sponsored by the Carol Forbes Foundation and put on by the ISC in conjunction partnering with USA Softball. Yeah. And that certainly is paying off for guys like Bryce Tecove. Brad Kilpatrick is here pitching for the Ashland A's, and he has been a beneficiary in those clinics as well. Big cut there by Rafa Flores. And hey, kid, go throw in the World Tournament. And by the way, the first batter you're going to face is a world-class hitter, Rafa Flores. So as you stay with us here, we're going to bring you some special coverage of the ISC Special Olympics game in just a minute here. Our new friend Luciano is firing up the drone as we speak, and we will take a look at the Special Olympics game. There's a bunch of guys out there from the ISC in a bunch of different teams. I see some lumberjack uniforms out there and some others, and AWP guys, of course. A couple guys from the Hill United squad who are still a ways away from playing here. And this is always a thrill for the Special Olympians to come in and get the opportunity to be on the same field with some of the top ISC athletes. So Flores will walk. Chirinos will come up to the plate. And we're going to get you a look very shortly here at the ISC Special Olympics game. Ground ball foul by Chirinos. Flores took a half step off the bag and just gave a real hard look at Chirinos. Don't hit the ball at my way. Hit it fair. Or something to that effect. Well, the pace of this game certainly has slowed to a glacial crawl. Big swing there by Yadier Chirinos. And chases after that low pitch from Tecove. Cleary still down the right field line.
If I had to guess, I'd say he's probably coming in as he's throwing now with some more pace. Perinos, throw to first, they get him there. 5 big runs for J&B in the top of the 6th. We'll head to the home half, but let's give you a look at Sheridan Meadows Complex and the ISC Special Olympics game coming up. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. So here we are. We're getting a look at, there it is, the ISC Special Olympics game. We'll take a flyby and let you get a look at some of the Special Olympics athletes we've entered and enhanced. Geez Louise, don't get arrested or anything like that. Whoops. Let's just stay right there. Here's a good look at the Special Olympics game. Our good friends. And you can see the cornfield in behind what is Diamond 3 here at the Sheridan Meadows Complex. This diamond was newly renovated for us for the ISC World Tournament. They put lights on this diamond. They moved the fence back, the permanent fence. They moved it 25 feet back to be regulation 25-foot distance. And just some of the renovations made here. You can see just there the LED lights that were installed on this diamond. And but more importantly, the fun that the athletes for the Special Olympics team are having. There's more than a few people looking at the drone and not the game. So I'll give a shout out to my old friend Kyle Bean, Midland Explorers, and the originator of this Special Olympics game a number of years ago in Midland, Michigan. And Kyle, we're happy to bring you this little taste of the Special Olympics game while we get some bonus coverage here on the ISC network. And thanks to Luciano, our pilot, our production ace, and our Spanish commentator. He does it all. And a first on the ISC network, drone coverage for the Special Olympics game. Maybe just while you've got it up, Luciano, maybe we'll come back and much higher take a look at the playing field with the J&B game. We'll give people a taste of the playing field here. You hear the drone go right by us. And there you see the main diamond. You want to switch the shot? Switch the shot. There we are. And that is live coverage right now of Sean Cleary back on the board for the J&B squad facing Peyton Hall of Circle Tap Dukes. Another first here on the ISC World Tournament. So Anyway, that's a great look there from an elevated look at the main diamond, and you can see the diamond 2 in behind. What a fabulous shot Luciano's bringing us right here. Bringing this right into your living room. You see a little bit of the town of Eldridge in the background there too. Luciano, my friend, gracias, bueno, bueno. That and dos cervezas are about the extent of my Spanish. And Hall will follow this one out of play. The drone able to hover, looks like that's at least 100 feet up over the field right now. So we'll back that off. I think we've attracted too much of the players' attention now. We'll back that off. Loose. Bring it in. And we'll come in for a landing. You know, there was a fair bit of technology that we've wanted to bring to bear on the ISC network broadcast. Kyle Smith and Joe Todd and I talk about this a lot. Drone coverage certainly was on our list of things to do. Luciano able to help us with that this year, of all things. And there'll be more things that we'll want to bring to you guys over the years too. We'll try and get some microphones on umpires or something like that, and for somebody too one day. We'll get to those things. Call the strike. So one down in the inning. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Circle Top chasing 3 now with Cleary back into the game. And as hard as Sean throws, even if he's backed off to 80-85%, that just means his stuff breaks more. So I hope everybody enjoyed that little aerial excursion. Viavazo scoops that up and toss to Derek Mason at first. Chris Abbott, could we get a steady shot of 4 drones hovering around the diamond? Maybe one day in the future, yeah. Richie Vassos, the Deuce link for Game Changer, been published the last 2 mornings on the ISC Facebook page. Scroll down, you'll find it. It's also on the ISC Twitter. You'll find them. There will be a new link for Legends on Game Changer. We will publish that tonight or tomorrow morning as the Legends tournament, 50 plus division, starts tomorrow. So make sure you're following us on ISC Fastpitch on Facebook and on Twitter, and all of that information will be right at your fingertips. There's the Sean Cleary changeup. Haven't seen a lot of that through the course of the game, to be honest, but that was a beauty right there. Swing and a miss. Cleary sets down the Dukes in order here in the bottom of the 6th. We'll head to the top of the 7th, see if J&B can add to this 3-1 lead. And no, Jacob, we're not updating balls and strikes for this game. This was some bonus coverage. We'll try to bring you the full package during our regularly scheduled programming. Coming up, we're now an hour and 15 off of our scheduled time. I don't know what the over-under on that was, but I would have taken the over every time that we would be behind schedule. But thanks again to Luciano Lafranco for that great drone coverage. Got a peek at the ISC Special Olympics game still going on behind us here. I see a couple of toddlers out on the field too, and I don't just mean the ISC players. There is a lot of umpires who aren't working, who are out here contributing their time for this great cause. Even some of our ISC administrators as well. So great to see that people participating in that game. I've had the opportunity and the privilege of participating in that game in the past. This one is yanked way foul down the right side. And the game controllers over there might have to have a heads up. The sun is slowly making its way down towards the trees a little bit. Probably another half an hour at least before it'll get to the point where it's just the right fielder that will remain in the sunlight on the diamond. Right now, shadows across the inner part of the infield. Pitcher, catcher, first base, mostly in shadow. And from the trees, left field is covered by shadow, but center field, right field, second base, shortstop, still bathed in sunlight. Seems like every time I look, Mark Aranda is at the plate, or J&B. He's up there again. Chopper on the infield, that's easily handled by Manuel Godoy. And a ground ball out. Walushka out on the play. Yusuf Davis at the plate here for J&B, and a nice play there by Tokove to make that stab. So last call at the bar for circle tap. I know, that was an easy one, but it was there. Coming up, Tanner, not Taylor, momentum for the Dukes. Stay with us with the bonus coverage. Hope you've enjoyed it on the ISC Network. So Sean Cleary will attempt to close the door and win the game that he started for J&B. Been a long here this afternoon. Started about 45 minutes behind schedule, and we're going to end about an hour and a half, if not more, behind schedule. Talked to a couple of the Hill United Chiefs while I was off placing a food order for our break in between games, and the Hill guys have been here for quite a while and they are quite anxious to get going. Swing and a miss. Flores and Cleary will have a chuckle on the mound. I had thought that we might get the opportunity to talk with Scott Standifer tonight. He and I had talked yesterday about maybe getting the opportunity for him to come out and join us for an inning and talk about his legendary ISC Hall of Fame career as a manager over the years, maybe tell us a couple of county materials stories, go back to the River City Rage days. Scott, of course, with the Decatur Pride, as that organization made a return for a couple of years in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And down on strikes goes Tanner, not Taylor Momentum. Reinhardt come up. I thought about a bunt, and that'll get the corners moving. Got a called strike for his troubles. Cleary misses outside with that. The right fielder, Rodriguez, similar position to what Luciano and I have been doing with the hand up in front of the face to block the sun. Swing and a miss. Well, swing and a foul back at least anyway. About 15 minutes from the conclusion of this game will be the start of the next one. The New York Gremlins and the Hill United Chiefs. We'll go over to the game controller's tent and ask if they have the lineup cards for us or if they've forgotten us again. Swing and a miss. Down goes Reinhardt. So the circle tap Dukes. Indeed, it is last call for the Dukes. Mentioned off the couch and into the number one spot for the Hill United Chiefs. As strange as it seems, it's a bit of an open year for the ISC because with the pandemic, the Canadian border, which was closed for a long time, we didn't know if the Canadian players were going to be able to make it. We didn't know if the Canadian contingent at all was going to be here. And it was an open year to be able to sign prawns, to be able to sign different players that may normally not be eligible to be signed on your team so that we could get the team count up. I don't think Hill United would be here without that. Certainly the Bear Creek Express wouldn't have been here without that. Swing and a miss. And circle tap down to their last strike. Cleary still on the board, still looking for a sign. Now starts the wrap. Step back. And just misses outside. Mike Betts to our rescue with a food delivery. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you, sir. Change and napkins. Wow, you are a gentleman and a scholar, sir. And that's how it works in broadcasting, folks. You get people to bring the food to you. So we've been gathering food, and you've been stuck listening into that. Apologies. Cleary, still out on the board. I don't think he even missed a pitch. Maybe one. That one top foul. So once again, Cleary and Tyler Johnson, it's 1 and 2. And Johnson's been able to foul off a couple. And that one is laced out to center. And aboard with a base hit, Tyler Johnson keeps the inning alive for the Circle Tap Deuce, keeps the season alive for Circle Tap. Thank you. So indeed it is Andrew Kirkpatrick and Devin McCullough as we get the lineup cards. Shout out to Jerry Betts, Hank DeWild, as Hank showed up this afternoon.
Brought some more balls with him. That's always a good thing. And not just Titleist. Long delay in between pitches. Cleary pumps in a strike. Ratliff. Oh and 2. I saw for a second the game changer scorekeeper got ahead of herself. Chop foul. Ratliff keeps things going for Circle Tap. It seems like forever ago that Matt Ratliff was rounding third on that double by Manuel Godoy, and then all hell broke loose. Initially, we thought that Ratliff had missed third and had been called out, but it turned out that, in fact, Godoy had gone back to the bag. Schofield was in the circle, and then Godoy left the bag and got called out. That pitch just missed outside. Some courage to take that pitch with 2 strikes. And we've reached that point where only the right fielder remains in the sunshine as the sun at long last makes its way down in behind the trees here on Diamond 1, the main diamond in the middle at Sheridan Meadows Park. There's the swing and the miss. J&B Bombers rally back from a 4-2 deficit. They win 7-4 and will survive in the losers bracket for another day. Thanks for joining us on this bonus coverage on the ISC network. Blair Sepp, it's been a pleasure be with you. Come back and join us in about 15 minutes time, probably around 7:50 Central. You make the adjustment. I guess it's when we'll get started. Hill United Chiefs, New York Gremlins. Thanks again.